Howdy folks, Doc here with Last Best Tool, and as you can tell by the title of the video, I think there probably is going to be some room for disagreement around here, but I want to address a few of the things, my thoughts on Snap-on, both as a tool company and as a corporation, you know, and decorated with quality, with price, with the truck model, with warranty, with corporate, and how it compares, you know, in 21st, actually a quarter of the way through the 21st century as far as a tool brand. Now sometimes I even think that the whole tool brand is almost like a second thought or a side gig for Snap-on, at least at the, you know, street level, not the big corporation or government or industry level, but if you go to the Snap-on website, the full-on website, it seems the Snap-on business model is selling franchises, and then you have to kind of go out somewhere else if you're actually interested in the tools. They do make a ton of tools, they rebrand a ton of tools, they resell a bunch of tools, but I think there are a couple of things that really make the opinion strong with Snap-on, both good and bad. And part of it's the price, part of it's the quality, part of it's the business model. And then a few others, but I'll get into those in a sec. As far as the price goes, Snap-on does things sometimes that just stun us. I mean, like a teeny-weeny wrench, this might be like $33 or something. It's like, really? You know, what causes that to be 33 bucks? It's because it's made with exactly the same care and processes as the larger or more expensive ones. Or, you know, $100 Snap-on extension here, you know, $150 ratchet, or when they came out with their large set of the dual flex head reversible ratchet wrenches, and it was $800. I mean, people, there was an audible gasp you could hear across the country when they released that, and it's like, how much? You know, and of course, bring it up here, you know, this is the one that I think is probably the most hated tool, and I've done videos on this. Every year I look this thing up. This is the 237 hex torque set, or ST, and it's a 37-piece quarter and 3/8 drive, hex torque spline drive or double square, and it's a great set. And what Snap-on did is they just took their expensive sockets and just added up the price and added up the price of a case, and it's like $1,220 right now. I think I started making videos about it when it just broke $1,000, and it was like, you've got to be kidding. That's amazing that it costs that much. You know, and it's like, well, yeah, that's what it costs if we include all the parts. That is a huge amount of money when you see it all in one spot. But there are other things, like, you know, people are buying this plier for about close to 90 bucks. And then somebody else across the street makes one and sells it for 20 that's really similar. So the question is, why does it cost so much? On the other hand, I don't hear very many people complaining about the price of this, and that's because it doesn't have any real competition. And it's an outstanding plier, you know, and maybe it's reasonably priced at whatever they are now, 60 bucks or something. But others, I mean, they're mind-boggling. In fact, I just saw their new adjustable wrenches. This one here is made in Spain. They have new USA-made adjustable wrenches, but the price, you know, it caught me off guard. I was just like, how much? You know, especially for the little ones. It's, yeah, like $80 for a 7 or a 8-inch or a 6-inch adjustable wrench. But anyway, some of the stuff, like their screwdrivers, you know, they've worked their way from 50 to 70 to pushing 100 bucks for some of the ratcheting ones. And that seems like a lot, but it's a heavy use tool. And I don't hear as many complaints about that. And that's also because there are a lot of other $70 and $80 ratcheting screwdrivers. So there's company. Their lights, yeah, they're on the pricier side, but there's a whole bunch of companies that are making pricey lights. And, you know, something like this is, I can't remember, you know, 100 and low hundreds. And you can get them on sale and stuff. Well, people are dropping that for a flashlight all day long. So that doesn't give it quite the shock. I mean, a set of hex wrenches, like this set of hex wrenches, if you want to buy all of these, it's about 220 bucks. And what are they? They're just regular old hex wrenches, just a full set of them. Just crazy. I mean, 35 bucks if you want to buy one of these on its own. $35 for a hex wrench. On the other hand, this is a screaming deal. You can get something like this, which is obviously not made by Snap-on, just rebranded by Snap-on. And to me, that's a great deal, and it's not much. I don't know what they are now, but I think I paid like 13 bucks for that back in the day. But anyway, so there's the pricing structure. I think where it really gets into a big deal with people is if they get a tool and it doesn't perform, or it's not perfect, or, you know, there's some alignment issues sometimes with the jaws on these things, sticky pliers, you know, that they just don't open or close very easily, and they really should for the price. That starts to make people a little bit mad. Makes people mad when they buy a very expensive tool and then something happens to it, and then they try to get it warrantied and they get the runaround, or the dealers switch and then they don't want to handle old clients, or, you know, there are all kinds of stories about that. So I think that Snap-on has earned some of that reputation. As far as the warranty they're trying to sell, the lifetime, that really should be lifetime, not life of that brand or that model of tool. People are given the runaround. I have not recently had any trouble with it. In fact, the Snap-on dealers that I work with are great, but I've also had some really bad experiences, both online with the Snap-on web store and with actual local Snap-on dealers that just absolutely did not want to help at all. It was a really strange experience. But anyway, so that's one. The whole franchisee model, where you're sticking an unknown variable or slightly unknown variable in between the customer and the corporation, to me is not the best model, especially if they have to take on a lot of debt. Plus, there's the whole aftermarket side. You know, so many people saying, oh, go buy used Snap-on tools. And you might think, well, why are there so many used Snap-on tools? It must be, you know, because there are so many tools out there. No, it can also be repos. It can be theft. It can be people who get in, like students. In fact, there's a pawn shop up in Havre, Montana that is just packed with Snap-on tools. If anyone goes up there, you probably know what I mean. And that's because they often buy the toolboxes of students at I think it's a diesel tech program up there, after they get in way over their head or decide they don't want to be a tech, but they've invested a ton of money in tools. And, you know, there's this store that'll just help them out, and it's just packed with Snap-on tools. I mean, like display case after display case. Prices are up there. I mean, they're Snap-on prices, but if there's something specific you want, sure, it might be there, and you might get it for a lot less than off the truck. But anyway, another thing is the whole credit idea. Is that taking advantage of people or helping people out? You know, and it could be both. You know, you're going into a vulnerable population, say, of the new mechanic who really needs to have enough tools to get going, but also shouldn't be going into debt. And me as the consumer of their services, you know, as a DIY, I don't run a shop, but I mean a professional shop. But if I went in and I saw Pittsburgh tools, I would think, you know, I just don't feel comfortable taking my truck here. I don't know what your background is, but it seems like you should be more vested in your work than buying a bunch of Harbor Freight tools. So what Snap-on's old model of, you know, that's what the professionals use, there's some to that, especially on maybe the educated consumer side. And that's just simply if I'm seeing people use either the wrong tool or they don't have the right tool, you know, because it's expensive, then yet I'm going to be paying them, I don't know, 50 bucks, 80 bucks an hour to do something, and they don't want to buy or can't buy the best tools for the job that they've dedicated their life to. Sometimes that rubs me the wrong way. And it's the same with home projects. If I saw somebody come in with a whole bunch of, you know, a full truck of not newer Ryobi stuff, but older Ryobi stuff, I might think, wow, how good is your work? You know, if the tools aren't limiting you. Anyway, so back to the Snap-on thing. As far as corporate goes, I think that there's a whole lot that could be done better, but I'm not sure what that is. I do think they should have higher standards for the interface between the franchisee and the customer, the end-use customer. And some of that may have to do with the way corporate treats the franchisee, or maybe a lot of it. And that should be straightened out. That the franchisee should really be, the absolute pinnacle of that Snap-on brand, simply because that's who people deal with. But I hear horror stories, even locally, horror stories of things that have gone on about routes being pulled out from under people, or people not being able to get a route or get a Snap-on truck to stop. It's like, how do you break into this? And that shouldn't be the model. Another thing I wonder about is the rebranding, and that's, does it really, by putting Snap-on's name on this, does that really make it a better tool to command the price? And some people get really upset when they look at something and say, well, I can buy that exact same set of hex wrenches, for $5 less. Yeah, you can. Go find it. The model might be you're on the truck and I can finance it. But on the other hand, is it really, they put a name on it? Does that really make it that much better? Is that a thing? So people get a little concerned. I got Joseph Hull's magnet he gave me. He's up in Canada. He has a YouTube channel. I don't know if you've ever watched his, but I learn a lot from some of the Snap-on dealer YouTube channels. Why? Because, well, sometimes the Snap-on dealers don't know all that much. It might be surprising. You think that's the job, but when it comes down to some specs, others are fabulous, kind of the lifetime ones that are going to make it work. But anyway, I just think that there's a whole lot to corporate, there's a whole lot to the tools, and we don't want to just lump it all together and make some judgment. I think Snap-on tools are great. I love them. I'm happy with them. It makes me excited, to be able to use some of these tools, the few times I have so far, just because they're great tools. Others, I don't know about. I just don't have the experience with a lot of the other brands, but Snap-on generally doesn't let me down. And I feel like there's a kind of an allure towards Snap-on. Some people rise, they think that's where they're going to end up with the Snap-on toolbox and the Snap-on everything. But others hate it. There's a bad taste in the mouth and they won't go back to it. Something happened. So brand loyalty becomes a great big issue too. And that's whether or not your relationship with the company is enough to overcome some of the headaches, like warranties they don't honor, or months of back order, or I can't get a part to fix what I need and I've got to go to some other company. Are they oversold? What's going on? Is there bad manufacturing? Or when you get something and it's just not quite right, like the sticky pliers, or I've had scrapers that weren't straight. I've had screwdrivers that just had way too much back drag. Anyway, and that just shouldn't happen from such a performance tool, high quality tool. It does, but I think I run into it way more than I should, given the limited amount of tool exposure I have. So if you were running a shop and this came out and all of a sudden your shop buys 10 of these, or your the people in the shop, when I buy one and it doesn't work, there's a good chance 5 of those in the shop aren't going to be that great. That's ridiculous. Especially if I order a new one and the new one doesn't work as well. And then I go online and I find out other people are having trouble. Yet they aren't bothering to lower the price. But they've obviously cut corners somewhere else. So I do think there are some essential Snap-on tools. I've done videos on that, like the ratchets and the wrenches and the screwdrivers. But there are a lot of other tool companies that are just, they're seeing where that business model of Snap-ons is just dated and has too many unknowns, too many variables, too many places where people can be stung, and there's nothing that can fix it, because corporate isn't going to get involved, and if you've got to go with that franchisee because of where you work or live, you're stuck. And and people walk away from it. But anyway, that's probably enough for today, but I think there's a lot to this about the quality, about the tools, about the innovation, the competition, the credit, the truck model, and then corporate that, you know, honestly, I wonder if this is all a side gig to them. It's hard to know. But anyway, please let me know what you think and share your Snap-on experiences. I do think Snap-on does pay attention to this. I can't guarantee it would change anything, but there's a whole lot of side pressure, and you know, that's often where innovation or paradigm shifts come from. Not directly above or below, but from the side, and you didn't see it coming. Anyway, with that, Doc out.